In this lesson, we are going to discuss the Cashflow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. And if you're not familiar with who Robert Kiyosaki is, you may have heard of his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But Robert is one of the leading financial authors of our day and also one of the top businessmen of our generation. And what the Cashflow Quadrant is kind of a map on how money is made, okay? The different ways that money is made. And we're going to go over this so that you can see where you are at in your money game so that you'll be able to plan in clarity where you want to be in the game of money. So here, the cash flow quadrant explains the 4 quadrants, okay? E, and I'm gonna explain what these letters mean in a second, okay? So here in the top left quadrant, we have our employees, okay? And these are our W-2 earners, okay? They have a job, they have a boss, and typically work a 9 to 5. Over here, we have small business owners. These are your real estate agents, okay? Real estate. They're usually 1099 contractors, also network marketers. Also doctors, lawyers. All right, those are small business owners. Over here on the top right quadrant, we got ourselves the big business owners. Okay, these are like your McDonald's, Hobby Lobby, okay, Starbucks. These are big, established businesses. And then we have our investors. And what identifies an investor? These people make money. And these are people who invest in stuff like real estate, okay, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, invest in cars, foreign exchange, okay, invest in watches, all right? Most people in the world are on this side of the quadrant, okay? They're over here, employees, small business owners. The goal, though, is to get on this side of the quadrant, okay? This side is what you would consider capitalists. This side is where time freedom happens, okay? And financial freedom. This is the goal. You want to be on this side of the cash flow quadrant because over here, this side, they still trade time for money. And that's not where we want to be. We want to have that time freedom. We want to be able to have that financial freedom so that we can be with our families, so that we can pour into the kingdom, so that we could finance the things that we care about. Because even over here, small business owners, I mean, if you know some, you know, these are probably some of the hardest working people on the planet. These guys work even more than the employees, you know? Instead of 8-hour days, these guys really have 24-hour days, you know? And I totally get that because that's where we've lived our life a lot. But what we want that this side has also is leverage, okay? So if you're here or here, how do we make the jump from here and eventually over here? Okay, well, we're gonna explain to you is how to make the shift to this side, okay? What's the difference between a small business owner and a big business owner? Aside from the fact that they're a big business and this is a small business, the thing that separates this guy and this guy are systems, okay? Because a small business owner does not have a system that keeps their business running and in place. Actually, in a small business, the owner is the system and does everything. A big business has a system that does the manufacturing, that does the shipping of the product, that does all of the overhead, that does all of the hiring, that has all of the employees and pays the employees. There's a system in place that does all of that work so that the owner of the big business just monitors the system. And then the owner can take whatever time that they want and go on a vacation, and even while they're away, the business runs like a well-oiled machine. While a small business owner still trades time for money because they are the system, okay? So if you're a real estate agent and you're not out there selling homes and you're not out there showing homes, what happens? You don't make money. Same thing with a lawyer or a doctor. When they're not working, they're not getting paid. They're not making money. So the whole goal, in order to make the transfer to big business, is to have the system. So how do we get a system? You can create a system, okay? You can start off here and start creating a system for the manufacturing of your products. You could create a system that can handle your employees, that can hire, that can pay them, and then create a system for the shipping and delivery of the product, and then create a system in order to handle the customer service. Or you could buy into an already established business system, okay? An example of that are franchises. Okay, what makes McDonald's so successful is not their burgers. They don't make nearly the best burgers in the world. What makes McDonald's so successful is that they have the most successful business system, the most successful franchise, and how their business is ran. So you can buy into an already established system like a franchise or McDonald's and jump right into business, follow their system, and be successful in your business. Now, for many people, creating your business and system from scratch is pretty overwhelming, trying to create all of that from the ground up. What we choose to do is partner up with an already established business system. And when you do that, you already have a turnkey business model, system, and franchise already in place. And that's the type of business that we like to align with here at Activate Breakthrough. Now, the next part of our lesson, we are going to discuss why we choose high ticket sales. Now, if you've read the Kingdom Principles book, you've probably learned that I've been in sales for many years now, and I've sold just about anything and everything. okay? And from my experience, I'd go to door and do these presentations, and typically, even for low price point items, my presentations would have to be somewhere around the 1 hour to 2 hour range. And then from those presentations, we'd make a few sales. And then let's say on a $500 product, I'd make about $50 override commissions on those products. And they would be a recurring commission. So I would continue to receive $50 until the time when people would cancel their renewals or auto ships, okay? Which in many cases wouldn't be much after their initial purchase, okay? Then I learned and jumped into high ticket sales. And in high ticket sales, comparing from selling a $500 product to a $5,000 product, guess how long my presentation was? 1 to 2 hours. So what I did with high ticket sales was, in the same amount of time, I was able to increase my impact in the time amount that I spent. Okay, so in the same amount of time, I was able to make a much greater amount of impact. Now, the next question that most people ask is, well, Jason, isn't $500 much easier to sell than $5,000? And it's absolutely not, because it all depends on the value presented to them. And I'm going to illustrate an example for you, okay? So let's say I had for sale for you, first gen Apple Watch. It's a little banged up. It was used for a couple years. It's pretty scratched. And I was selling it to you for $1,000. Now, would you give me that $1,000 for that watch? Absolutely not. And why? Because you know the value of that watch is much less than $1,000. Now, let's change the watch to a brand new Rolex, but this time it's for sale for $5,000. Okay? Now, if you were to go see how much that Rolex is worth brand new, and you were to find out that Rolex is actually worth $30,000, how quickly would you come up with the $5,000? Okay? Now, that's because you know the value of the brand new Rolex, okay? And it's the same thing that we would do in our 1 to 2 hour presentation. We present the value of the item that you're purchasing. So 5,000 and 500 comes out the same because it's the value of what it's worth.